Hey everyone, how are ya? I am making this video hoping that it will prove to be a really valuable aid as y'all step into this design process. I really think that watching it will give you some valuable insight about design and how it connects with instruction. I will post a transcript of this video into an announcement so that you guys will have it in written form. This is something that Lynn and I have done together. We have collaborated, talked to one another, so I'm presenting, but all the information is from the two of us. Before I talk about the design process, here is the thing about technology and instruction. Technology is a tool. It is not the source. You guys are the source of your instruction. Your creativity, passion, your ideas, your design styles, those are the sources of instruction. Technology is merely a tool that is used. As a mom and a dad, Lynn and I kind of see it like when we used to give baths to our kids when they were little. The instruction or the goal was clean babies, and that involved a sink or a tub, water, and soap. As the instructors in the bath giving, we know that the end goal is to have clean bodies. They did not always know that. It was a learning process. So we used tools to help us in our instruction. We used boats and dolls, rubber duckies, foaming colored soap, tub decals, whatever we could to help us in our endeavor. The point was to get them clean. That's the tub, the water, and the soap. But the method to making it happen in a way that made it resonate with them and to make it even enjoyable for them was the use of bath tools. Instruction usually has a pretty simple end goal. Understanding that 2 + 2 = 4. Knowing that it's actually the absence of color that makes it visible in the spectrum. Why the Civil War occurred and its effect on United States history. Those are the goals and objectives trying to meet certain standards. But the end goal is not enough. Now, would it be great if we could just say, hey, here's the tub, the water, and the soap, and they just get it? Personally, I don't think it would be great. Bath time with the kiddos was way more rewarding for them and for us with the tools and the water. So if the goal is not enough, then we start bringing in tools to make the goal arrive faster, with deeper understanding, with more hands-on connections, with greater appreciation, and dare I say maybe even them enjoying it along the way. So then it becomes, how do I do that? That is where creativity and design have to mesh effectively and efficiently with our goals and objectives. And as an important side note here, don't be pulled into the temptation that the actual content of the lesson is supposed to be fancy or impressive or novel or huge. No, absolutely not. Lessons are lessons, and I've already said that most lessons are pretty basic. The fancy part, or the part that makes it soar, is how creatively you design the lesson. That is why we need instructional design. So, with that in mind, it is really important that all of you get out of your minds the idea that design means artistic, that it's creating costumes, doing interior design work in a home, or decorating a cake. No, those are avenues that use design to a huge extent, yes. But that's not what design means. Design doesn't mean artistic. Design means you are approaching something with a systematic method of achieving a goal. That is fancy talk for you better have planned in such a way that no matter what happens and no matter what is thrown at you, you've got it covered. Lesson plans and units should be very thought out. They should not be thrown together ever, and good design allows that to happen. Effective teachers do not fly by the seat of their pants. Yes, sometimes you definitely have to make last-minute adjustments and changes in the moment because something is not right. It's either a mechanical issue, a technological issue, the previous knowledge of the students is not what you thought it was, a tragedy has occurred, or it's a remote learning issue. But those last-minute adjustments are not what flying by the seat of your pants means. When something is designed well, which will make sense when I get through talking about all of this, you are able to adjust at the last minute in the moment because the design sets that up for you. You guys have tons of things that you said were creative and design-based from your backgrounds. Everything from graphic design and photography to working with GIMP or PowerPoint, video editing, photo editing, marching band drill sets, using colorful pens to organize notes, cosplay, ceramics, costuming, building websites, decorating cakes, decorating rooms in a house, crafts, event planning, choreography, scripting, even how to formulate various maneuvers with members of a sports team balanced against their skill sets for that sport. Yes, all of these things have design aspects to them, but there's a reason why. The reason why they are all design-based is because every one of them requires that systematic, methodical, step-by-step, considering all of the variables approach to moving toward the end goal. That's why they are all design-based. And in all of them, you have to first understand how that specific thing functions in every way possible. What purpose it serves, what the learning curves are, what tools you have to make that kind of design happen, and so forth. It's like if you're decorating a cake, you can't just be good with icing and piping bags and nibs with different shapes on the ends of them. You better also know how cakes are made. What happens if they're too hard? What happens if they're too warm when you try to put icing on them? Is it going to be out in the sun for 6 to 8 hours before it's ever even cut into? There are way many other variables that go into decorating cakes efficiently and effectively than just knowing how to do the icing. Well, before you can design lesson plans and units, you have to first know inside and out, backwards and forwards, from above and below, from every angle, as much as you can know about that goal or that objective and how it does or does not connect to previous learning and learning that's going to take place in the future. Then you have to figure out how to best teach that concept to your students. And if technology is the best way, then yes, use it. If it's the strongest tool, then that's the tool that you should use. But if it is not, then do something else. Don't use technology just for the sake of saying that you use technology. It should be an effective tool that greatly aids in the learning of this particular goal and objective. And if for that particular goal and objective, using technology is the best tool, you have to have knowledge of a plethora of things at your disposal so that you can go from one thing to the next until you find the technological tool that is best going to help your students for that particular goal and objective. You have to ask yourself what particular tools, are out there for that specific kind of technology as it connects to this particular goal or objective. For example, the students have to type out a report. Well, with so much remote learning going on right now, some students are on Macs, some are on PCs, some are on iPads, some are on tablets, some are using laptops, some are using desktops. So what word processing tool is going to be effective and efficient on all of them? Are you going to use Word? Are you going to use Pages, Open Office, Google Docs? What if everyone uses Word for everything, but in your proficiency, knowing very well that Word works horribly on iPads? What are your options? Students have to use technology that fits the level and the age where they're at. What fits their hand-eye coordination for the age that they're at? Their cognitive abilities. What piece of technology or software functions at a level that does not visually overstimulate them or is not so confusing that they are overwhelmed the instant that they see it? That is a critical part of your design process, knowing what meets the learner, where they are, for how old they are, and so forth and so on. A lot of you watching this want to become technology leaders. You want to be hired for instructional technology types of jobs. You have to be able to go into any classroom, no matter the subject matter, no matter the grade level, and know what technology is out there for teachers to use as part of their design process. No one is ever going to know everything about every program. That is not possible. But it is your job to know enough, which is going to be way more than anybody else in that school, so that your help is effective. Really, the main obstacles that teachers face with technology is going to be accessibility to technology, balancing instruction between teaching and teaching technology, and time. What technology do you have access to for your students? Are there going to be internet issues, tech issues, machinery issues, software, hardware issues? Are there going to be issues with student knowledge of how to use that technology? Because hear me clearly, just because we live in a digital age and students seem to have quick learning curves when it comes to technology, do not be deceived by that. And the reason why I say that is because so many students have learned so many poor habits from previous classroom experiences or working with their parents at home experiences. And so they do not learn to do things efficiently or effectively. Well, then you have learning to balance between teaching content and teaching technology, and that can be tricky. Sometimes, especially in public schools, technology just goes out the window because there only seems to be time to teach the content that the state is going to test on. So what technology can you use so that you have time to do both? You may love a piece of software because it's awesome, but is there something out there that may not be as fancy, but it does the basic job and at 90% less instructional time to teach them how to use it? For example, I am an unofficial Photoshop pro. I know that program. But if I had students in a literature class creating a book that had to have pictures in it, I would not use Photoshop as my tool. It would take 5 days a week, 8 hours a day for 4 months for me to teach them the basics of Photoshop. No, I'm going to find the easiest, quickest to use with the fewest buttons and choices possible, but still has a large enough editing base so that they can basically learn how to use it in 20 minutes so that I can get on with my actual instruction towards my goals and objectives. Okay, so with all of that said, here you are with all of these goals and objectives and all these ideas churning and things that you want to do, but there isn't enough time to do all of them. That is where we begin to step into the process of instructional design. As the creator of your lesson plans in your units, you have to choose which ideas are going to work best, which technological things are going to work best, and what goals and objectives they are best used for. What is going to be the most effective, yield the greatest knowledge, broaden the deepest understanding, connect most with previous content, and if possible with the students themselves. And then you have to design like crazy ahead of it ever happening. Design is systematic. You are thinking about what you are doing every single step of the way while constantly looking forward. And you're constantly thinking of multiple ways to add to your repertoire of abilities and knowledge in case something doesn't work in the moment. When you really and truly design, and here's where we start to get to the heart of it all, you first have to make sure you know what supplies and what tools you have at your disposal, and that every student will have as well. And you need to make sure you know how to use those tools and those supplies inside and out before you begin the design process. Then you start designing, remembering and reminding yourself along the way that design is creative. And because it's creative, it is organic, fluid, and ever-changing until you get to that final product. After that, you are thinking about and planning out as many step-by-step details as you can. Then as you start fleshing out those details, you start realizing that those details have little subparts. They're much more complex than you thought. They have their own little details, and that there are offshoots going in different directions of things that you have to consider, like what if blank happens? Part of design is thinking ahead to every possible thing that could go wrong and having a solution to it so that if it does happen, you are not flying by the seat of your pants, but rather are wisely adjusting with confidence and with control. As you're designing, you have to constantly think about the details and all of those tangential offshoots that arise as you design and create your product. You are constantly tweaking and self-editing. Why do you think we have all of you responding to one another for these first 9 weeks for all of the rough drafts that you are putting out of all of these different components that go into your design plan, and why they're so critical? The reason why is because all of you are helping each other to think of all of the various things that need to be reconsidered or changed or expanded so that you can tweak and self-edit and tighten the bolts as you go through the design process. I'm almost done. Sometimes it is really overwhelming to look at a unit or a lesson plan from the front view and try to trudge your way through to the final desired outcome. Now, when you've been teaching a long time and you know what you're doing and it kind of becomes your routine, that is a lot easier. But, if you're new to this, especially for the undergrads, I would strongly encourage you to, one, not be fancy with what you want that final outcome to be, that final goal, that final objective. Pick something you know so well that you could write a book about it. Now, will it be that way for every lesson and unit plan you do in your teaching career? Of course not. But for this course, do that. Because what we're trying to do here is learn how to design. That is what is critical. So if you need to use a basic lesson to do that, then do that. Then later, as you grow in your abilities, you will apply these design concepts to harder lessons, harder goals, harder objectives. And two, and this is really important, Consider looking at the final outcome first, the thing that you want them to know or to have learned or to have experienced, and work backwards. See the tree right in front of you that was so important to embrace. That's the desired goal or objective. Then begin to back away, moving away from that tree. Other trees come into view, and keep backing up until you are hundreds of yards away and can see the entire forest. Now, look at the path back to that tree. What is the most creative, dynamic, engaging, interesting, arresting way to explore that path back to that very specific tree? What tools would be awesome to have as you begin your journey back into the forest and through all those other trees to that chosen tree of knowledge? What is going to help guide you efficiently as you move toward that tree? Is technology the best tool? If it is, keep going down that path toward that tree. If technology is not the best tool, find another tree for this course to focus on. What things need to happen step by step by step, and what tools will be needed step by step by step to ensure a safe and awesome journey to that desired tree. Figure out what things could possibly go wrong no matter how crazy they are. Do you expect the trees to fall down? No, they've been up for 700 years, but what if one does? What are all of the things that could possibly happen as you're moving back toward that tree, and have an answer before you ever take one step onto that path of how you would tackle that problem? In a nutshell, that's design. That's the best way that I know to describe it to you in a creative way that will remove that connection to it being artistic and it becoming rather the understanding that design is a systematic, step-by-step, extremely methodical approach to designing your instructional pieces, your goals and your objectives, your lesson plans, your units. I hope that this has proved helpful. I really do. If I can help in any other way, let me know. I hope you guys have a really, really great weekend.